Welcome back. Let's make a one-page wonder. I love these. I think they're so beautiful. So we're going to trim off the edges unless you have a borderless printer, which I do not. And then we're going to fold it landscape or hot dog, depending on what makes sense to you, right in half. And I like to use my bone folder, make sure I get nice crisp folds. Then I'm going to fold that in half the opposite direction, and that gives us our center so that we can fold it into quarters. So this is kind of like a mini folio, and it's going to have all kinds of pockets, and it's small so you can fit it into just about anywhere in your journal, or you can have it solo on its own. I just think they're super cute and they're very fun, and I like to make them for almost every journal I make because then I have a matching little miniature folio. So I'm going to ink where all my fold lines are that we're going to cut. That way you can see it better. So what we're going to do is we're only going to cut halfway up those quarter lines, and you can see here where the halfway mark will be. And when I cut it, I cut like the entire fold off. I don't know if that makes sense, but you'll kind of see that I cut on one side of where my fold line is and then on the other side of where my fold line is. And the reason for this is that when you fold everything together after it's glued down, you don't want the paper to bulk up on the corners or on the edges of where all the folds are. Things start to get a little weird. It makes your folio not fold properly or lay flat. And so when you get rid of that extra bit, it gives it more room for the folding. So now I'm folding down the two center pieces because I want them out of the way, because I like to make my pockets different lengths on the sides than I do for the middle. So I do about 1 inch for the little short pockets on the outside. And then for the inside, you'll see I was kind of like struggling to figure out my math. I don't know what my problem was. Usually it's very quick and easy for me, but all of a sudden I was drawing a blank. I usually make it about 2 inches. So 1 inch for the outer ones, 2 inches for the inner ones. Kind of just gives it a nice look, and it's a balance. Again, I don't know what my problem was. I was just totally drawing a blank, and I was like, where do I want to cut this? So those scraps we're going to keep. We're going to save them on the side because they're going to become pockets and embellishments, and so don't throw them away. I like to use a decorative edge trimmer for the center pockets. You could even do it for the outer pockets. I like the look that I get for the tall pockets to be this scalloped decorative punch. It's one of my favorites, and I use it a lot. I like to start with the center and then work my way out. That way the edges are symmetrical. You don't have to do that. It's just preference. And then for the outer ones, I'm going to do a half like thumb, what is it called? Like a little notch. I can't think of the name of it. Thumb something. It's a notch. It's a circle notch. And you can use any size that you like. I think mine was a 1.5 inch punch. This is where you get to decide what you want your inside to be and what you want your outside to be. So it's kind of playing around trying to decide which side I like the best for the outside. And part of what helps me to do that is to look at it with the pockets that I'm going to glue on. And I really liked the floral pocket on the red background. So that's what kind of initiated my decision to go ahead and glue it that way. So I'm going to ink all of the edges before gluing things down, because it's really hard to glue those little pockets if you to ink the pockets if you've already glued them down. Yeah, so then once you get all that done, you just put the glue on each side of your little flaps that you have hanging down, and you fold them up. Make sure they're lined up nice and square. And there's a pocket. So there's our first little pocket. And then we get one of the taller pockets. And the closer and thinner the lines are on the edge of your pockets, the more room you have on the inside of the pocket, if that makes sense. So if your tags don't fit, you'd have to trim them down. So just to give you the most room, just keep those thin lines all the way to the edge. Okay, so this is it. Like, this is your base right there, is the little miniature folio. And I like to go through and make sure everything's nice and flat and that it all folded together nicely. And then you can do whatever you want with these little scrap pieces. You can create any type of pocket you want. If you want it to be just straight across, you can cut one of those in half and have just straight across pockets that kind of match the inside outer pockets. Hopefully that made sense. For these ones, I put them back to back so that they would be symmetrically cut. and I cut an angle. So now we have our little angled pockets. This one just didn't have a very clean cut, so I just trimmed that up a little bit, get it a cleaner, more squared up pocket. And then I inked it. Inking is always optional. If you don't like the inked look, you can just skip that step altogether. But again, you can do any type of pocket, any shape pocket. I just like the look of these where it kind of comes to a V in the center. It's one of my favorite looks. And then you just glue the two sides, pop them on the corners, and there's one slanted pocket, and do the same for the other side. So this cute little folio, it's so full of places to store pieces of ephemera or tags. It's very, very pretty. It's very versatile. I really like it. So then you could use this as like a little belly band across. You could do that on the front and the back. These other triangles you can use as what I'm doing right here, which kind of gives it like that V envelope pocket look again. Or another thing that I've done, and I should have shown it in the video, but I completely forgot, is you can turn those on like opposite corners and make it kind of like the picture pocket, corner pockets. You know what I'm talking about? So it would have like kind of a slanted stripe down the center. So instead of putting that one on that edge, I would have like turned it and had it on the opposite side. I don't know. I really wish I'd shown it to you. Play around with your pieces, see what you like. Then I got real brave here and decided to take those little strips and give them the little decorated edge. You'll notice that I made a mess. The bottom was opening up and I had little dots everywhere. So thank goodness for the magic of editing. You didn't have to see me clean up that huge mess. So again, making these like, it almost gives like a lace look. And at first I was going to create kind of a belly band look and maybe put like another piece of paper to cover the seam. Because I do really enjoy that look where you just, but the stripes, I don't know if you can see those little stripes, they didn't line up. And I was like, that's really noticeable. So I decided to just make it a top and a bottom border for the cover. But I do like to do layers, and so you could have done what I started doing and have like a strip of paper or a strip of ribbon or something that hides that seam, and then you just put like a focal point right in the middle, like a butterfly or a label or whatever you want. So now I was like, how can we make this pretty? Let's create a cluster. And I really liked these three pieces together. If you've been here for a hot minute, you know that I really like to create clusters using odd numbers. I think it's aesthetically pleasing, but you do whatever makes you happy. If you want one item or two items or five items or six items, you can do whatever you want. It's a personal preference. And for me, I find that having, I guess it's almost like having that center, like if you have a shelf above your fireplace, you have like a center focal point, and then on each side it's kind of symmetrical. I guess that's how my brain works. And so I prefer to use odd numbers, and then every now and then I like to add some sort of a different type of material than paper. So you can add elements of cheesecloth, or this is actually from a produce bag. You can add lace, you can add bits of metal, and it just kind of gives it more, just more, like more character. It gives you something different to look at. So I use art glitter glue. I really like it. I think that it holds really well. It's quick to cure, and so you don't have to do a whole lot of waiting for things to dry. You don't have a lot of time for wiggle room, so once you plan it down, you better be happy with where you put it, kind of a thing. But I really like it, so that's what I use. And that is my cover. I'm really happy with it. I thought it turned out really lovely. To go a step further, I did go ahead and start adding some stuff into the pockets just so you can kind of see the process that I go through of putting it together and filling it up. There's really no rhyme or reason. I just kind of find pieces that I think look nice. And I especially like to find different size pieces. So I'll have like a larger tag for the back, and then I'll kind of stack or layer smaller elements in front of it. So going with a digital kit is pretty ideal. I get this from Pink Monarch Prints. You can get it through Etsy, or you can subscribe on their website. And what's really nice about getting a digital kit is that you have all the elements that go together really well. So when you have coordinating pieces, it makes everything come together pretty effortlessly. And their kits come with plenty of tags, plenty of bits and bobs, lots of different papers for the backings of your tags or to create the journal pages. I love their kits. I highly recommend you check them out. It's Pink Monarch Prints. And so, yeah, again, I just started kind of making clusters and embellishing this beautiful little folio. And you can leave it plain, you can add as much or as little as you want. It's just for fun, and the end result is always really nice. So I was playing with some of the little tidbits and butterflies and labels and just kind of figuring out what I thought would look really cool. And I landed right about there. I was like, yes, this is it. When you know, you know. So we ink up all the pieces. I did take my circle punch to kind of round out the little ticket notches because when I cut them out, I followed the line. It was meant to be kind of like a really distressed, torn paper look. But when I was looking at it, I was like, this isn't really the style I want. I like the more clean cut circle punch look. So I went ahead and trimmed it up with my circle punch. And then I almost threw that little piece over to the side and I was like, no, this has got to go over here on this pocket. Like I said, everything is in balance. You just look at it and if it hits right, then you just go for it. Glue it down. Don't think too much about it. Don't stress about it. And over time, it gets easier. You kind of develop a formula that you really like. And then you kind of know what shapes you're looking for and how you would want to layer them. I like keeping everything off center from each other so corners don't line up with other corners. I like to offset them from each other, and that way you can kind of see a little bit of each piece. I love rippling the wings of the butterflies because it gives it such a 3D and pop. It looks so realistic. It's my favorite method. Huge thanks to Crafty by Tony. Tony was the one that I first saw do it, and I thought it just looked so cool, and it's been my go-to ever since. So then on the back, I thought this little piece would be cute, and I really liked how it looked on the center. So when you're gluing things like that down, just keep in mind where it's open so that you don't glue things down that shouldn't be glued down. So I only glued the little edges that's going to be on the pocket. And then I wanted to add some metal elements, so I do have some eyelets on some of the tags. You can add miniature paper clips. You can add all kinds of things to bring in that extra variety of materials that's in your project. So again, kind of layering things. I have a large, medium, small, kind of a theme for how I layer my pockets. And then to really amp it up, I love using my bowl clips, and I take a charm that kind of matches. So I was digging for a charm that was a dragonfly to match my cover, and then I found the jump rings that I wanted to use, and I just attached that to the bull ring, and then it just looks so, not bull ring, bull clip. And it just looks so cute and keeps it shut. So there you have it. I hope you guys really liked this. Give me a thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe, all the things. I would love to hear your comments and see the things that you make. And I thank you so much for being here. Bye.